Hello, nerds. So, I've been working a lot behind the scenes, pulling some levers and clicking some buttons, but mostly fondling the levers, and I came to the sudden conclusion that maybe it would be a good idea for my first devlog to outline where the current project is as it stands. As a basis for where my recorded journey will start versus immediately working on new concepts and making videos and going straight into that, which makes the entire process a little more comprehensive for viewing purposes. This also isn't due to the fact that I'm possibly disorganized and have some form of ADHD preventing me from focusing on one task at a time. Definitely not that. No, I came to this conclusion as a man of scholarly wisdom. With that being said, I'll showcase and explain the current state of the game with nearly 6 months of work put into it, which is roughly 290 hours at the time of recording put into it on my behalf. As a reminder and a disclaimer, this game is being developed by two dudes. I am not a GigaChat solo dev. No. I focus on the story, art, animation modeling, and world design, while my partner in crime Bobby works on coding, game design, and mechanics, and together we have shared custody over the Unreal 5 files. This game is utilizing a story that I've been doodling and writing for nearly 2 years prior to the start of this project, and utilizing the massive amounts of knowledge and networking that Bobby has gained in the last 4 years. So at the end, we are very confident in what product we're aiming to make. So with that out of the way, I'll go ahead and start going over the series of events that have led up to the current version of our game starting now. Bobby had me create a GitHub account where he created a repository and made separate branches for us to work on respectively and slowly add into a larger master branch. Please don't ask me anything about GitHub because I'm fucking stupid and don't understand it worth a fuck anyways. He then had me download Unreal 5, where I was like a baby trying to shit its diaper for the first time. Fortunately, I had some experience in Blender, where unfortunately that didn't really translate a whole lot into Unreal. Like, they both use different ways of moving themselves around in the workspace, and I still get fucked up every single time I try and use both in tandem. But after that, we went ahead and put together our GDD, which stands for Global Development Delay. This is something this generation of kids probably have because of the COVID pandemic. Yeah, I'm just fucking with you. It's our game design document. This outlines every single follicle on the butt cheek of our game, from story to design to mechanics. It's something that every game has to help structure what needs to be developed for the product, underline the type of game that we're trying to make. Once we got all of our ducks on death row, we started to brainstorm and get to creating. We immediately got our little piglets wet, start off with rudimentary things like creating the physics for the player in the world, and making an enemy to visually represent the AI. It took me a minute how to learn how to do this stuff, like rig, waypaint, import, texture, animate. Collectively, this shit probably took me like a month in total, on and off with work in the background, but I can safely say that I now enjoy and can effectively breeze through almost all of it except for animating. Fuck animating. I don't like animating in Unreal. After that, Bobby started designing enemy AI behavior once I handed him my sloppy ass homework, and I started to make weapons for the player to hold and for you to visually see. So to basically sum it up, we just went straight into developing what was most important for us to get an idea and visualize what we want and where we needed to work after that. I don't think it's rocket science and at all, but the most important thing for us and for almost all games in general was the mechanics. So we needed to get the enemy and player movement and gameplay in front of us as soon as possible. After building off of that, I started to branch out a little more, playing around with different textures, messing around with animating, modeling some things here and there, building out little environments. That's when we eventually started pulling these things together and making a more polished playtest. Yes, we started playtesting early as hell so that way we could earn as much feedback as possible. And luckily for us, our group of testers is quite diverse. Not so much racially, but by game genres played. We went from extremely rudimentary stuff to actually tangible concepts probably by month 3. I'll go ahead and start playing clips here showing essentially the evolution of our playtests and how far we've come in the span of the 5 to 6 month range. For a single dude who's actually well versed in game dev and a technological cripple, it's pretty decent progress. It especially feels like it for me, who never thought he'd be able to work on a game and see good, consistent progress. It still sort of blows my mind, but I do enjoy it. I've always spent excess amounts of time watching others put games together and mod other IPs, and I've always taken an interest in it. So to be doing it as a project that could put forth my nerdy ass ideas is pretty cool. Now this brings us to the current state of playtests. Taking a look at it, you can see that we have a stinky little environment that was haphazardly put together in like 2 hours, but a playable one nonetheless. We got a small variety of enemies that function differently from one another, and at the current moment we have our melee weapons implemented, so just melee combat at the moment, which consists of this sword and this mace, which effectively do the same thing but allows for a different approach and incentivizes thoughtful action when engaging the 2 weaker enemies here. So this is accomplished with enemies each having a weakness to a specific damage type, either slashing or bludgeoning. So depending on what you'll use, you'll have a greater effect when dispatching them. Not only that, but the sword and mace have different special moves. The sword lets you execute a piercing lunge, and the mace unleashes a sweeping knockback. So one is basically a movement ability, and the other one is a physical sandbox action. And it may not seem like much now, but once we start fleshing out the game and these distinct weapon mechanics will prove to be pretty crucial in the player's agency. There will definitely be a video diving into the fundamental concept behind our combat mechanics later on, but for now, we'll go ahead and look at these fucking things falling on the ground. You may have noticed that these enemies shit out little gems when they croak. This is another extremely important element of the game's design and world building. In the setting of Ashen Star, the people surviving on the planet use crystals as a metaphysical means of energy. It's essentially this world's magic system. Everything runs on crystals to devise spells, life, energy, you name it. I won't go too deep into the importance of it. Again, it'll probably be a separate video focusing on that, but its purpose is widely varied in all aspects of the game. For its actual in-game functionality, it serves as both a currency and a means of ammunition for the third and final weapon of the sandbox, which isn't done. It's not fucking done yet. Nope, it's not. But the third weapon is something I like to call the lance, which is our tool for projectile-based combat, as well as a Swiss Army knife for utility-based gameplay, such as special attacks, buffing the player, altering the environment, and a lot more. Think of it as a wizard's wand to cast spells, but way fucking cooler than a dorky ass twig. Like, yo, get that shit out of here. Like, this thing is metal as fuck, and I'm not just saying that because I made it, it's just a cooler silhouette. So, with the gems being used as both currency in-game and ammunition for the lance, it creates a unique relationship and gameplay loop for the players to take into account. Would they want to save their gems to purchase upgrades for their lance and themselves, or do they want to be liberal with the amount of use to get through difficult parts of the game? This is going to play a huge part in the overall gameplay of Ashen Star. So that's currently what we have developed for the game in terms of playable content. We've got some more things hidden away, but until we've refined the systems already made, I won't really cover any of that quite yet. The next goal is for the lance to be fully implemented so we can have our playtesters get a feel for the full sandbox and flesh out a vertical slice to show to Bobby's professors. I'll be recording everything leading up to that point and wrapping it up nicely in a video format that's easy for degenerates to consume. Hopefully that'll be done by the start of next year. And yeah, hope the video was insightful on the beginning process on how we started developing. Thanks for watching.